Good morning, welcome to Breakfast with Sally Nugent and Charlie State.
Our headlines for you today. Great Britain's greatest ever Paralympian, Dame Sarah Storey, wins her 17th gold in a career spanning 29 years and 2 sports.
Big decisions due on the COVID vaccine programme, announcements on autumn booster jabs and inoculations for the under-16s expected within days.
As the Taliban tighten their grip on Afghanistan, the Foreign Secretary, Dominic Raab, heads to the Middle East for crisis talks.
Good morning. The worker shortage continues, and this time it could be your bin service that's at risk. So I'll look at the impact on some of the services that we take for granted.
Good morning. It's yet more history for Cristiano Ronaldo. He's now the highest scoring player in men's international football after 2 late goals broke Irish hearts in the World Cup qualifiers.
Good morning. The weather for the next few days is similar to what we've had. A lot of clouds, some drizzle, the best of the sunshine across the north and parts of the west. But from Sunday into the early part of next week, it looks like for many it will be drier, it will be sunnier and it will be much warmer. I'll have all the details coming up.
Good morning. It is Wednesday, the 2nd of September. Our top story. Dame Sarah Storey has become Britain's most successful Paralympian of all time.
She has defended her C4-5 cycling road title in Tokyo earlier this morning. Dame Sarah now has 17 golds and an incredible Paralympics career over 29 years. Our reporter Patrick Geary looks back at her remarkable achievements so far.
For Dame Sarah Storey, the competition comes from within, an unending desire to outdo herself, to force the lungs and legs to their very limits, then, despite that pain, to do it again.
Just being determined to win gold medals or be the best person I can be on a bike now and in a swimming pool previously, it's just a privilege to have that opportunity, and just being fit and healthy is the main thing, but obviously we're able to take it to that elite level and compete against the best in the world and try and be the best in the world.
She began in the pool, then at Sarah Bailey. She was born without a functioning left hand and was told aged 10 she'd taken up her sport too late to be elite. So began a career of chasing time. In Barcelona, then Atlanta, she won 5 Paralympic swimming golds before switching to cycling ahead of Beijing. She competed with able-bodied athletes at the 2010 Commonwealth Games. In the Paralympics, she's excelled on track and on the road. Those who know her best still can't see the finish line.
If you love your sport and you love getting out doing your training and you love working hard, then and you can keep that going, and then when the Paralympic Games come around and the World Champs come around, you're in brilliant form and you're proud of representing your country, then why wouldn't you want to do that? Keep it going. What a great life.
Day 65 in lockdown homeschool.
And that life is much wider than the ever-spinning wheels. Storey's now a mum to Louisa and Charlie. They're normally a big part of her race team.
Mum's finished racing and now it's time for the podium.
COVID rules mean they aren't there in Tokyo, but they just might be in Paris, by which time their mum will be 46. After all, this is the story which seems to get better with each repeat. Patrick Geary, BBC News.
Well, let's go to our reporter Rachel Latham, who's in Japan for us now. Rachel, very good morning to you. What an extraordinary achievement this is.
Yes, Sarah is absolutely exceptional. I mean, what an athlete. As we've seen then, her career started in 1992. She was just 14 years old, and back then she was a swimmer. She moved into cycling in 2007, and those 2 sports combined, she's won 29 World Championships on top of the 17 Paralympic gold medals. She is 43 years old, and I spoke to her before we came out here and I said, how do you stay on top? And she said, to be honest, her biggest thing that she does day in, day out is make adaptations. She knows that she can't just do the same thing that she's always been doing. She has to continuously change her training, continuously change how she competes. She also said it's not just about her body, it's her mind too. Her key aspect, she said, is mental attitude, and she's been building that from a young age. She was bullied at primary school due to a disability, which is missing one hand, and she said that that really allowed her to have character and know that she wanted to achieve more. I said, you have also been competing and training your whole life. You know, what motivates you to keep going? She said, it used to be her medals, but as we've just seen in that videotape, she has children too, and she said now it's about her children. She does it to show them that anyone can achieve anything, and her oldest, Louisa, even wants to be an Olympian like her mum. Paralympic athlete Sarah Storey really is impossible to ignore. She's not just a super mum, a super athlete, but she really is superhuman.
Rachel, just tell us a little bit about the race itself this morning, because finished, just a couple of hours ago, and I understand in very bad conditions, and we've just seen a couple of the images there of what looked like tears as she was getting her win. Tell us a little bit about the event itself.
Well, building up to coming out here in Tokyo, a lot of her training was done in heat chambers because they expected the weather to be so warm. But today the rain came down hard, which Sarah will have enjoyed growing up in Manchester with the rain that we know comes from Manchester. She's used to this weather. She will have enjoyed racing in today's conditions. She finished far ahead of her teammate Crystal Lane Wright to take that gold medal, and she did show emotion on the podium and in her post interviews afterwards, but a lot of that is down to not having her family here to share it with, but she's so excited to go home and be able to share these 3 gold medals with her family back in Manchester.
Rachel, for the moment, thank you very much.
And we will be talking to her family later on in the programme. Really looking forward to that. Now, ministers have been urged to stop hanging around and launch a mass booster programme for COVID vaccinations.
Comments from the former Health Secretary Jeremy Hunt come as pupils in England begin returning to school, prompting fears that it could lead to a spike in infections. Matt Graveling has this report.
And when you go outside, you need to sanitise your hands again.
The first test of the new school year.
It was better than I thought it would be, and it was quite nice that we got to do it ourselves because then I felt more comfortable.
Pupils in England are returning to school, and regular COVID swabs are the new normal. Here in Newquay, a coronavirus hotspot, pupils will need to wear masks in communal areas, but that isn't the case everywhere. Rules around face coverings and social distancing have been relaxed, with head teachers deciding their own measures.
We met yesterday as a leadership team, and we took it upon ourselves quite confidently to make that decision in the best interests of our young people and our staff. And we're going to review that now almost on a weekly basis.
Scientists have warned that the reopening of schools will likely lead to a rise in infections. In Scotland, where pupils went back in mid-August, COVID cases are at a record high, something First Minister Nicola Sturgeon believes could be linked to a return to classrooms. Now, some big decisions lie ahead. The first is whether all over 12s should be offered a vaccine, something that the US, France, Spain and Italy are all doing. The second is around extra doses. While third doses are going to be offered to around 500,000 people with poor immune systems soon, it's not clear when the rest of the population will get them. In a tweet, former Health Secretary Jeremy Hunt said the clear lesson for the UK seems to be get on with booster jabs, not just for the clinically vulnerable, but for everyone. Health Secretary Sajid Javid said the booster programme is on track to start later this month, subject to the green light from scientists. Matt Graveling, BBC News.
You may well be interested in our guest this morning at 7:30, the Education Secretary Gavin Williamson. As you will know, if you're a parent, if you've got kids at school, whatever the connection, lots of schools going back currently, sort of different times across the UK and indeed even within England, but many questions about how things are going to work in practice, about testing, about masks, about classroom sizes, ventilation is the other one. So any thoughts you have on that, or maybe your kids are already back at school and things have arisen already, do let us know this morning.
Really interested to hear from parents and teachers, so get in touch. It would be great to hear from you. Now, 2 groups representing NHS organisations say patients would be left at risk and services might have to be cut if the government doesn't raise the NHS England budget by £10 billion next year.
The NHS Confederation and NHS providers say the funding boost is required to cover COVID care and cut the backlog of postponed operations and treatment. The government says it's committed to making sure the NHS had everything it needed to provide excellent care while tackling backlogs.
See the headlines as they happen and watch BBC News live in the app and get the full story with bbc.co.uk/news. Follow the story for all the latest with BBC News.